What's going on, guys? I didn't do this last week because I was not around on Tuesday, but I did it 2 weeks ago. Just wanted to post a video on my breaking down my cash game lineup over on Fantasy Draft. Had another really good week. As you can see, the top 2,000 get paid, so I cashed easily. Um, I highly recommend checking out this site. There's so much overlay on it that it's literally double ups become finishing in the top 65% and you make money. It's pretty amazing, actually. I have one losing week in like 6 weeks that I'm doing this. I have like a 1,200% return on my investment thus far through like 6 or 7 weeks, whatever it was. But anyway, I just wanted to give you a little heads up here on my thought process on how I go about building my cash lineup. So let's just begin. This week was a little weird because there was really no good expensive running backs. So you would want to pay for the top flight wide receivers this week. And in order to do that, I felt going cheap at QB was pretty important. Brian Hoyer, I actually tweeted that I would not invest my money into Brian Hoyer this week, but I went against, my own volition there. And he's minimum salary on this site at 10K, and he just allowed me to do so much with the rest of my lineup. The Saints have like the worst passing defense in the NFL, per DVOA, which on Football Outsiders. So at minimum price in that good of a matchup, I just decided to pull the trigger on it because, like I said, he allowed me to fit a lot of stars into my lineup and all, which I'll talk about in a second. In order to fit these top flight wide receivers, you had to obviously go cheap at running back as well. Now, there was a few guys you could have chosen this week. There was Tevin Coleman and Thomas Rawls and Spencer Ware and Buck Allen and so on and so forth. Obviously, it would be ideal to, fit most of them. But let's just start with Tevin Coleman. I liked a lot this week. The Vikings do not have a strong run defense. I think they were in the mid-20s on Football Outsiders DVOA. Falcons were a home favorite in this game, and there was no Devonta Freeman, obviously. So I liked what I saw from Coleman in weeks 1 and 2 before he hurt his rib and got replaced by Freeman. And I thought he would have a nice day at home. He ended up scoring really well. He broke got the bonus for 100 rushing yards. He actually scored a touchdown that got called back because of a clipping penalty in the end zone, which is ridiculous. It was a horrible call. So he should have, had a higher total. But anyway, I just felt like he had a very safe floor, and I'm not sure why only 13% of people used him. But hey, whatever. The next guy, this is where I kind of differentiated a little bit. I liked LeSean McCoy, all week. The Chiefs' passing defense has been stellar the past 6 or 7 weeks. They got Sean Smith back from suspension or injury, or maybe been both. I don't even remember. And the rookie Marcus Peters, and they're playing really good pass defense. So even though Sammy Watkins absolutely went off this week, but McCoy has been getting big workloads the past few weeks. Let's see here. Again, he scored a touchdown against New England last week. Look, as you can see, 20, 19, 16, 18, 17. They've been giving him big workloads, getting a lot of looks out of the backfield as well. And I just thought that his floor was kind of safe and his price was extremely low at just 10,000 on this site, which is very cheap. It's a bottom of the line running, not minimum price, but it's lower middle tier of running back prices on this website. And I liked him. I could differentiate a little bit, even though it's a cash game lineup. I liked him over Thomas Rawls, who was at home against Pittsburgh, who actually have a sneaky good run defense. They just can't guard anyone through the air. So I just decided to differentiate a little bit with McCoy, and it ended up working out. He scored a touchdown, had 100 all-purpose yards from scrimmage, and yeah, I just thought he would have a good day, which he did, 18 points. Then let's get to my studs now. It was really tough this week. There was 3 chalky plays at wide receiver: Julio, Odell Beckham, and DeAndre Hopkins, and I literally could not decide which one I wanted to fade. So I just decided to not fade any of them and just use all of them, which goes into the thought process of using Brian Hoyer. That way I could fit them all in. But Julio, got shut down by Xavier Rhodes all day. It was horrible watching it. Doesn't really matter. The thought process was there. Julio's been killing it lately. He's like on pace to break the NFL record for catches in a season. He did not have a good day. 5 catches, 56 yards. But listen, sometimes that happens. It's a cash game. You want stability. You want a safe floor. And, a home game against the Vikings, even though they have a pretty good defense, Julio is essentially unguardable, and he's been in the zone lately, and it's just a no-brainer. So even though he didn't have a great day, I'd still make the same decision again next week if I had to. Odell Beckham Jr. was actually the guy I liked the most, and he was a little bit cheaper than the other two. The Redskins' pass defense is atrocious. It's in the bottom 5 or bottom 7, I think, on Football Outsiders DVOA. And he was not having a great game. It was very methodical. He was getting his 10-yard receptions throughout the game, and then in the fourth quarter, he obviously made that ridiculous one-handed grab in the end zone that got Twitter buzzing and everybody going crazy. And he ended up finishing with a huge day, 32 points, and only 39% of people had him, so that was pretty big for me. I don't understand where these people, what they're doing on this site, but I don't know how anyone faded him against the Redskins. I mean, I just don't get it, but hey, whatever. Gary Barnidge, I liked a lot at tight ends. Johnny Football got caught partying and holding a bottle of whatever it was, champagne or something, in his hands, and Mike Pettin decided to make him the third string quarterback after seeing that, and I guess they're done with his antics, which is actually really good for Gary Barnidge's value because Josh McCown only looks for Gary Barnidge when he plays, and he's had huge games literally all season long when McCown has been the quarterback. This week Cincinnati, Manziel was QBing, but look at all these game logs from earlier in the year. He absolutely torches everyone, and in week 5 against Baltimore, he had a big game as well. So I just thought with McCown back, he was relatively cheap at just $9K. I thought he was a no-brainer. I didn't, have the money to pay up for Gronk. A lot of people were on Jordan Reed, who had a really nice day as well. I think Reed might have outscored Barnidge, but he was $700 and more expensive, and I could not afford him this week because I wanted to play all these wide receivers. Obviously played Brian Hoyer, so I wanted to stack him with his number 1 receiver and maybe the number 1 receiver in football right now, DeAndre Hopkins. Again, the Saints' pass defense is absolutely atrocious. It's the worst in the NFL. Even though Delvin Breaux is actually a pretty good corner, Hopkins has just been killing everybody lately. He torched Darrelle Revis last week for 2 touchdowns, and a home game set up really nice. It was a really good spot. As you can see, everyone else thought this way too. 77% owned. Now, he didn't have a big day either. Hoyer actually threw 2 touchdowns in the first quarter, and then he had a horrible day after that. But that probably goes along with Hopkins having a bad day, obviously. But again, thought process was there. You want to take guys in favorable matchups, and Hopkins had the best matchup on the board. So like I said, I didn't know which one to fade, so I just decided to play all 3 of them. Fitting them in was not easy. I had to use another cheap running back here, Spencer Ware, who's filling in for Charkandrick West, who is hurt. I think he has a hamstring injury. But last week he came in against San Diego and scored 2 touchdowns. And even though Buffalo has a pretty good run defense, he is a home game. The weather is supposed to be pretty crappy. I think it was ugly out. It was raining in mid-30s. The temperature was, and he was expected to get a big workload. Niall Davis, his backup, has pretty much fallen out of the rotation. So it was, he only got 1 carry actually. So really, it was Ware's job, and knowing he was going to get a full workload at home in a low-scoring game that was going to be close. Not that you want a running back in a low-scoring game, but it was going to be a tight game. It was, the weather was bad, so they were going to run the ball a lot, even though Alex Smith had a big day. But the thought process again would be to take Ware for only 7,400, which is a little bit more than minimum. And he ended up finding the end zone. He broke the 100-yard barrier, got the bonus points for me, and he had a really big day at 23.5 points. Again, I don't know why he was so low owned. Everybody was on Thomas Rawls, who had a nice day at 81 yards and a touchdown, but these other guys, like Coleman and Ware, I don't understand, and especially Beckham. I don't get Beckham, why he was not – should have been owned like Hopkins was owned, but whatever. And then finally, in order to fit all this in, I had to use the Browns defense, which was like the third lowest price of the week, or maybe the second lowest, whatever they were. They're at a home game on Monday Night Football against the Ravens, who are literally depleted by injury on their offense. Joe Flacco tore his knee up. Steve Smith is done for the season. It's just a total nightmare for them. And I thought that Matt Schaub would not play well like he, has in the past. The Ravens were actually playing really well on offense, and the Browns D was not doing well until good old Matt Schaub delivered a pick six right at the start of the third quarter, and that pretty much, made the entire night. As you can see, they would have got 3 points otherwise if they had the touchdown. They got 33 points, and they lost unbelievably on a blocked kick. Only the Browns could do that, but that's whatever. But yeah, they were 3,800. I like their matchup, and it was really more about getting the rest of my lineup in over playing the Browns defense. But I fill in the defense last, essentially, once I fill in my skill players who I want to be in my lineup. But this week, Cleveland happened to be in a really good matchup, and they were really cheap, so it was a no-brainer, really. As you can see, I scored 146 points. That is, it was good enough to cash pretty easily. As I said, the top 2,000 get paid on this website. The overlay is always ridiculous on this site. Double ups, they have 4,400 entries, and about 3,500 of them actually fill. As you can see here, 3,589 filled this week. So really, all you have to do is come in the top 2,000 out of 3,500, which is essentially it's crazy how it's easy, as long as you don't make stupid decisions. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got for you this week. I'll probably do this again next week if I'm around. I just wanted to, give you my thought process on how I go about building a cash lineup. And as you can see here, it works because I've been having some success for the past month or so. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope it wasn't too long, and I will see you guys next week.